Malaysia is already 100 years ahead compared to other countries. And most of the time, I think Malaysians, they don't see, they don't experience how beautiful and powerful is this land.
This is Maurizio, an Italian expat living in Malaysia who has been making a profound impact in a men's space in this country. But in this interview, I'm going to ask him about his learning and adapting journey to the Malaysian lifestyle and Malaysian culture. Ciao Maurizio. Tell us, how did you end up in Malaysia and how all the adventure and journey with Malaysia has started? When did it start and why Malaysia?
Wow, it started 6 years ago. Probably actually out of the blue, because back then I was based in Europe, in Italy, where I was born. I was working in the fashion industry, just coming out of a long relationship with my former girlfriend, 13 years, and I really wanted to have a shift in life. And incredibly enough, I received a proposal to move here to Malaysia as a brand manager still in a fashion brand. And so I literally sold out my cars, my furniture, everything. And I really felt I was going really to change a new chapter, to embrace a new chapter in my life.
Start new life.
Totally, from scratch. So it happened. I came to Malaysia, it was 2019, and COVID came. So the business was literally destroyed. And I was on the edge of making an important choice in my life, because if I was going back to Europe, I knew exactly what I was going to experience. And I had the courage enough to say, you know what if I stay in Malaysia? And I had already some proposal for work in Malaysia. So
you had an option to stay.
I had an option, yeah. And so I did. I became the head marketing manager for this French private university, which is...
So no more fashion at that point?
No more fashion. It was a shift in my life, because changing completely industry. It was literally jumping from a cliff into the unknown. And it was scaring. I was full of insecurities. How am I going to do this? But actually, as in the most beautiful hero journey stories, once you have the courage to get out of your comfort zone, it's right there when the magic happens.
Coming back to the point when you came here, what did you expect Malaysia will be like and what surprised you the most?
I had a bit of idea in terms of context, because in a younger age I was backpacking in Southeast Asia, but never came to Malaysia. I still remember we landed from Europe, was 10 o'clock in the evening, was raining, and then for the first few days I slept in a hotel before the apartment was ready. So I woke up due to the jet lag, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I started to walk around. And immediately I felt such a connection with the energy of this land, so gentle. Back then I was in PJ, Petalinjaya. And I was walking around, amazed, looking around, and saying, wow, this for a while is going to be a place where I'm going to expand and learn from the locals, connect with locals, see how the culture works. And lucky enough, I was born in Italy, but since my high school, then I moved to the UK, Japan, South America, US. So I lived in many places before. So I had always clear in my mind that once you come to a country, you have to be absolutely respectful, very humble, teachable, understand how things works, and accordingly you behave. You don't come here like a king, I'm host by Malaysia. What I deeply love about Malaysians, the community, is the diversity, the kindness, this multicultural vibe. 3 big religions, 3 big beliefs, 3 big entities. They are all of them under the same flag. And Malaysia and Malaysians are teaching to the world that it is possible to live in a multicultural community in a nice way. And
harmony.
In harmony. And of course, as we all know, there's some, sometimes misunderstandings, but that's part of the humankind. But the world is going to the direction. If you go to Italy, you're gonna see guys born and raised in Italy, of course, from maybe African ancestors, Asian ancestors, and they're Italians, So that's the world we're going through. Malaysia is already 100 years ahead compared to other countries. And most of the time, I think Malaysians, they don't see, they don't experience how beautiful and powerful is this land. Because it's really, for me, blessed by God. This place is amazing.
Yeah, but it's very, very interesting what you said, because the mindset, right, which is always the hardest to change when it comes to acceptance and tolerance and that curiosity that you were essentially saying, right, the open-mindedness. If we compare it to Europe, which individual countries are very monoculture, mono-religious most of the time, so we never developed that curiosity first mindset to when you see something different. We are still operating under the scarcity. Different means maybe a danger, maybe something, unknown, and we push it away, right? And there is like an ugly self-defense mechanism in a lot of people, which obviously can occur in a different form, like racism. But then in Malaysia, it's like, that's the default state. Like everyone is different, and we love that, and we celebrate that. My parents always highlighted it's mind-blowing to observe.
It's mind-blowing, and walking, particularly, I love Malaysia in general, but Kuala Lumpur especially, it's for me, in my hard days, when I have, let's say, a lot of overthinking or insecurities, what I do, simply put on my sneakers, a light bag, water, and my cell phone, and I go simply around town and watch the buildings, and it calms me down immediately. I have this kind of deep relationship with this land for some reason, and I don't want to sound too spiritual now, but actually that's what I feel. I was here in a previous life, 100%. That's my feeling, 100%.
I think Malaysia tend to make people feel very welcome and very at home and very appreciative. That's why you have so many expats quoting them, saying that, it's a hidden gem. Some want to protect Malaysia so much from other people discovering with the fear of the place changing, because everyone wants to preserve Malaysia as it is. So it's beautiful to hear another opinion and some profound perspective on it. And I 100% share that sentiment. Have you embedded a Malaysian lifestyle into your day-to-day? How did Malaysia change you or change the way you look at yourself now?
Since I came to Malaysia, because I put a lot of work on myself, a lot, and every day, I would say mentally, spiritually, emotionally, I had a 10x deep dive in myself. And while I was in Europe, I was working to fashion. I was really successful career-wise, financially, but there was so many shadows, so many I was experiencing and I was embodying so much darkness as well, because it was only work and a lot of stress, a lot of anger, a lot of fighting with colleagues and stuff, and I take ownership of that because part of that was even because of me. So when I came to Malaysia, I was still dragging and bringing with me that. And as I said before, this for me is a healing energy, a healing place. What I've learned immediately from Malaysians was the kindness. The people really looking at you and smiling to you, say, hey, how are you? But not just to say, hey, how are you? I done my work, and it's like, hey, how are you? So I immediately felt like, wow, I am seen here, I'm heard. So consequently, I start to behave the same. And that was the very first opening massive gateway for me of embracing kindness. Not because I wasn't kind, but when you're in an environment that everyone is a quite of aggressive, in order to survive, you need to become aggressive, even though deep down I knew was not the right things to be. So here, I discover, thanks to my Malaysians, I have plenty of local friends, kindness, compassion, understanding, not a strong judgmental approach to life.
Sounds like patience as well,
and even
right?
slowing down, which is especially for men, slowing down things that is giving up. Actually, slowing down at times, it's very healthy. We're discussing before here that, at times, especially if you're really committed to just, take your time sometime. And that's one of the main things as well I've been learning in Malaysia.
That's beautiful and some powerful lessons. But a lot of people also know that, because what you are saying, it's essentially that more balanced perspective on life. It's not just the career, it's not just the chase. It's a art of blending it all together to keep that happiness at heart. So what are the few things that you had to learn in Malaysia and unlearn in Malaysia?
To learn, by default, I'm extremely extrovert, and I have this incredible energy that it can be sometimes for locals a bit overwhelming because they say, who is Mazzale? What did that? Well, even
Why
though
is he so loud?
Yeah.
I have that a lot.
But even though, okay, by nature, and I'm not trying to sell you, but by nature, I really come from a space of love. My intention is not to take from others, is to express the gift that has been given to me, right? So I'm super enthusiastic. I want to collaborate with people. And I learn when it comes to collaborate with locals that I need to be at the beginning, just show them, look, why don't we do something together without showing too much enthusiasm? Because paradoxically, I was rejected at the beginning. Then the same people that I was trying to deal with, they told me, Mauri, at the beginning, you are so enthusiastic that I thought this guy maybe wants to get something
Intimidated.
out. Yeah, intimidated, right? So I learned to still be enthusiastic, but without overdoing it. So to try to keep my energy a little bit down, just to connect first and then see how we can collaborate together. That's what I had to learn, and I learned. I learned to be more patient. For example, when sometimes bureaucracy, as foreigners, we deal with visas and stuff, and sometimes you have no idea probably, but it takes ages, to take a visa, to
few
deal
visits.
with Putrajaya, you go there. So a lot of be more patient. That's, I would say, mainly what I had to really let go from the European, pace, and to align with the local energy. And I'm very happy actually with it.
Do you have any habits, very Malaysian habits, that now you cannot imagine your life without?
Well, of course, now the bolela, I got this kind of slang coming up, and even the eating routines. One thing as an Italian, I guess everything is all around food and family. So sometimes see a lot of similarities with Malaysians that you guys get close. The family time is getting together and have a meal together. So that's beautiful, and it really feels like home. This kind of gathering together. So I tend with my friends. Yeah, of course, we go and big session of eating. Malaysian food. What's your favorite dish?
It changes every day, but I have plenty. Will be patin pais tempoyak. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No.
The fish cooked in the fermented durian paste. Okay, you have to
And you
try
smell
it.
like a queen afterwards.
Yeah, but it's worth it. Can you eat durian?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you like it?
Yeah,
Your
okay.
reaction seems
When
like.
yeah, of course.
Okay, so yeah, you have to try it. But yeah, I have plenty. Other would be rendang tok from Perak.
Rendang #1.
Yeah.
Chicken or beef?
Beef.
Oh.
Daging,
There you
daging.
go. Now we are talking.
Nasi lemak, you cannot omit that
course.
from the top 5.
Of course. Do you have a special place to have nasi lemak?
Yeah, I do. Village Park.
Village Park?
Ayo! Paling best!
Fuyo. Okay.
It's the best. Okay. Now the part 2, part 3 of this interview is gonna be
Okay.
held somewhere
Nasi
there. Yours?
I would say #1 in general is rendang, beef rendang.
Okay.
I'm a bit, my diet, because I do a lot of sports, is very basic, chicken, veggies, so beef rendang I would say is #1 for me.
Yeah, can't go wrong. So you were saying the food routine had to change and you had to
Yeah.
adjust because the heavy breakfast or because of the spiciness? What was the
No,
biggest
in
change?
general, I don't take any sugar. And so we were recently in Penang and they put sugar on the eggs. So say,
On the egg?
Yeah. So I'm a bit a no sugar guy, and actually I invite all of you amazing Malaysians to lower the sugar intake in this beautiful country. Something that in the position of one are going to be in the position, it will be to spread as much as possible on the damage that sugar does. And my father is diabetic, so I'm sensitive to the topic. And Malaysia is the #1 country for diabetes. Even 20 years of age, they get diabetes because there is an overconsumption of sugar. So I love Malaysian cuisine, but I eat it once in a while because there's a lot of fried and carbohydrates. So that's why beef rendang for me and veggies is best, because I remove sugar and carbs. So I'm very, very keen,
Cautious.
conscious in what I eat, yeah.
And that can be tricky sometimes with the Malaysian festivities.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you have your cheat days where you just immerse yourself in all the guilty pleasures. Otherwise, it's impossible to say no to the Malaysian cuisine. Would you have an advice of how to reduce sugar? What would be like few tips?
100%. First question, ask yourself, why are you craving sugar? And if you close your eyes, let's say you're at the office, you're working and you start to crave sugar. Most of the time, sugar, it simply gives you, simply a rush of dopamine. So once at times you can notice in yourself, you have a hard conversation maybe with your spouse, your husband, whatever, or with a boss, with a colleague, or in a family, immediately we experience discomfort. And we're all good on avoiding that discomfort. So sugar is one of the ways of getting this rush of dopamine that numb the discomfort for a little bit. And it's very tricky because you eat sugar spikes the insulin, and then when the insulin goes down, after 20 minutes, you still want more sugar. Have you noticed that having a big nasi lemak, you can, after half an hour, you can still eat a piece of cake. You eat the cake, and after half an hour, you can still eat more. Because there is this constant spike of insulin in your blood. Consequently, you always want to eat more. But it's very tricky because in order to reduce, paradoxically, the amount of sugar, it's simply, when you get the discomfort, just stay with it. Just stay with it. And try not to numb yourself with sugar. You will see that doing so, paradoxically, you will be more able to reduce the amount of sugar because 90% of the consumption of sugar is due to numb yourself, to have that kind of rush of dopamine. Somebody uses coffee, somebody else uses alcohol, somebody else uses different things.
Cigarettes, yeah.
Cigarettes, vapes. The body doesn't need sugar.
And I think the learning how to become comfortable with that annoying feeling of void of
it's
something,
all that.
but it's also a beautiful skill to have because now I think we're being challenged with those quick rush of dopamine need constantly. And now where the phone addiction comes in, when we also need that quick rush of dopamine. So I think the smartest and most sustainable way of learning it's self-resilience skill. Because then you can apply it not only for sugar but also the digital addiction, the vape addiction, everything else. You touched on highlighting how Malaysia is privileged and lucky to have that harmony and a multicultural background. Is there anything that you would like to tell Malaysians or put their focus on something that maybe they don't appreciate so much?
This country never had a tsunami, an earthquake. There are 12 hours, depending on the season, but on average, of light and of darkness. The only time during the Second World War that something happened was because of the Japanese coming in. So the peace that you will always experience in it, it's something that is normal, we give for granted. But as we know, right now, there's a lot of pain and suffering. And at times we get upset because I don't have the money to buy the last iPhone, or I want the new Mercedes, I just bought my new one, but my neighbors have the new one, I want the latest one, or I don't have, I don't know. We get lost in translation on little things. What I believe, guys and girls from Malaysia, is really appreciate the peace, the safetiness of this land, the beauty of this land. And everybody trying to travel abroad, in fancy places, Bali, Europe, US, whatever, Australia, while, you have amazing places in Malaysia. So I think a bit Malaysians themselves underestimate the beauty of this land, the peace, the safetiness, and I'm aware that sometimes within communities there is a little bit of a scratch, which is normal. But if you are able to get out of the judgment or the conditioning of the society that tells you, I'm better than you because I was here before you, but all of you are under the same flag, all of you pay the same taxes, all of you, live in this beautiful land, instead of getting away from one another, getting closer, guys, you are going to skyrocket this country. On average, a Malaysian person speaks at least 3 to 4 languages.
Yeah.
Malay, of course, Bahasa,
English,
and then if you're Chinese, Mandarin, maybe Hokkien, Hakka, some
Tamil.
dialect, Tamil if you're Indian, you know, so you guys can literally deal with all the world, you know.
Yeah.
So probably you don't, you underestimate yourself.
Yeah, that's beautiful said and captured. And I think you captured a lot of beautiful elements, even the nature, right? Malaysia has everything. If you really look at the broader Malaysia together with Borneo.
Everything.
Yeah. Let's move into your mission and your passion project and your life project you are working on, which is super incredibly interesting and so much needed in the world, which is the men's circle that you are running and founded in Malaysia.
Yeah.
So tell us, what is it about and why Malaysia?
Thanks for this opportunity because you know how much I care. Just to give a bit of a context, 3 years ago, by the way, I received this message from a very good friend of mine. She's Brazilian, based in Malaysia, an amazing woman. She used to do a lot of supporting women going through difficult time in their life. And she told me once, Mauri, why don't you consider to run a men's circle? And I say to Adriana, is the name, saying, wow, what's that? So I went back home, I started to research. Men's circles or men's work are all those activities related to mental health, physical well-being, and emotional well-being. To make it short, it started as an experiment because I say, wow, okay, let's do Malaysia. I started to reach out to about 20 friends of mine. 8 of them replied, say, okay, Mauri, let's do it. So we started our first men's circle.
Like a meetup.
It's a meetup. Yeah, it's a meetup, community-based, where we literally sit on a circle, men, and my duty is to hold the space, to create a safe space where men from different walks of life, there are called Malaysians from different communities and foreigners, from CEOs to GM to students, we gather together and we have the courage to have brutally honest conversations on what is holding us back. As you know, you deal with men, you have a partner, you all women, you know very well, you always deal with men, but men in general, we are very much scared to really open up and to express our emotions and to express what's going on within us because we are so afraid to be judged as weak. Consequently, what we're doing is exactly the opposite. We create communities of men where we come together and we have the courage, like as a tribe of men, to address our insecurities, to address our fears, our frustrations, how to have a better conversation and relationship with our wife, kids, partners, and it's so powerful. Think about these guys. We started in October 2020. At today's date, there are 3 big communities, 2 in Kuala Lumpur, 1 in Penang. There are about 600 men in these communities. It is an amazing experience. When you give the opportunity to a man to feel safe, say, hey brother, here nobody judge you. And you see this man that is able to remove the armor that he always creates just to protect himself for the fear to be judged, it's so amazingly powerful. Let me express something. In the past 5 years, in Malaysia only, 4,400 people themselves. 85% of them men between 16 to 24 years of age. Fellow brothers Malaysians. And you know why? Because men, and I know that you're listening, I know very well that you're feeling the same, you don't have a space where you can talk. So the work we are doing is to develop, in a nutshell, communities of men where there is no judgment. You don't need to impress anybody. You just come there and you give and receive support. We go hiking together, working out together. We do activities, we do cold plunges, breath work. It's an amazing experience that is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's not a cult, it's not a religious group, it's not nothing for superheroes. It's for men that they have the courage to pause and say, you know what? I have abusive behaviors. I don't know how to deal with them, and I need some support and see how my fellow brothers deal with that. And that's the right place for you.
What is your perspective on Malaysia in this space? Is there any stigma? Is there any judgment? And I understand your circle is very international, but it obviously includes a big local portion.
Oh, yeah.
So is there any stigma? Is it very needed in Malaysia, less needed in Malaysia?
Yeah.
Just give me your insight on Malaysian market and the mental health space for men.
Men in general are men. As I mentioned before, born in Italy, but I lived in different countries. And I always saw the same. The struggles of men to express emotions, beside men feel allowed, men in general feel allowed to express anger, frustration, and resentment, because they feel allowed. You know, it's very common to see a man angry, it doesn't catch your attention. But if you're at the restaurant, you and me are at the restaurant, and there's a guy crying on the next table, it catches your attention immediately, because wow, I saw a man crying. People have this misconception that men, they're not emotional. We are human beings, of course we are emotional, but we suppress, we disconnect with emotion. When it comes to locals, and so we talk about the Buli, the Malay, the Chinese and Indians, according to the experience of my brothers and Malaysians, the education received has been always quite strong in all of the three communities to express. They always tell you, hey, you don't show emotions, you keep going, you are a man. So this culture of to man up is the exactly culture that we need together to let go, because so many fellow men are suffering for that. So when it comes to locals, I would say that the culture, the education received has been very severe. So at times, I see that it's easier for a foreigner, let's say a European, Australian, to get connected with the men's circle mostly faster than a local. But when locals come, they really enjoy the environment, and then they do the work. So I try not to do any kind of labeling, but if you want me to reply to your question, yes, I would say that there is some resistance to come and join the men's circle.
But that's interesting when you mention the foreigners. They are already outside of their safe zone and the land, right? Because when you are talking about the cultural, more conservative approach to men's role or men's expected behavior, it's exactly like that in Poland. It's exactly like that in other European countries that I've worked with men, you know, got to know men in. It's exactly the same. The man needs to suppress the emotions. The man needs to fit in this society-built image of themselves. And I've seen it everywhere. But that's interesting what you mentioned about like some local, and it's probably also because the local perspective, because they are here. Their family is here, their bosses are here, their colleagues are here, they grew up here. So it's much harder, I feel, to change your mindset or change those rules that they were maybe holding you back when you're still in the same place, as opposed to expat that already, you know, came and took a leap of faith and living in the completely different zone, because they're already less judged here. They're already in the farm.
That's a very good point, yours. But wow, that's a very good point that foreigners being here, they're already out of the comfort zone in a way. So for them, they're already between the floor. But you know, we all go through complaining. We keep, especially men, we keep working hard. We work our, sorry my French, ass off, you know, to provide for everybody. But who is providing for you? We have the weight of the world on the shoulder, and we are genetically provided, and it's fine. But I can guarantee you, you can be the most successful, the most attractive, the most respected man in Malaysia without killing yourself, without neglecting your well-being, without neglecting your emotions. How can we spend an entire life, and I'm talking to my fellow brothers, without getting to know ourselves? If you feel that you're not good enough, not do it for you, do it for your beloved ones. Because I can guarantee you, once you start to do the work, the real work, the one that really matters, inner work, money comes to you easier, healthy relationships, healthy friendships, better physique. But we keep giving our power as a man to validation from the new car, the bank account we have, how many women we sleep with. Then if I tick the box, I am a man. But I'm sure if you are a man watching this video and you are already financially successful, you know that once you reach that successful financially, then you say, and then what? You still feel some emptiness. And that emptiness is a lack that only you can fulfill. And the best part, once you come into the men's circle, you're gonna find hundreds of men like you looking for answers, and you're gonna feel less lonely.
But coming back with one more question to specifically Malaysia and running this men's circle in Malaysia, with certain stigma that might appear culturally and, as we established, also probably across the world. But in Malaysia, as you also pointed, it's a very unique country with a lot of religious, cultural, lifestyle influence that even though it's one country, people might live or might have different beliefs, different approach to certain problems and those big aspects of life. How do you navigate the cultural, religious differences to be respectful and give that space?
Amazing questions. I got guys doing the same work that I do in Dubai, in other places, and when it comes to Malaysia, we never mention any kind of religion, even though we embrace them all, you know. So it's a place that we are extremely respectful of one another, I believe. We have a big WhatsApp group. Every time there is any kind of religious celebration, we celebrate one another. We gather together, actually. And it's quite simple, because what we do is a lot of inner work. So it doesn't touch any sensitive topic when it comes to religion or communities. And it's amazing. It's amazing because we got brother Muslim, brother Buddhist, Christians, you know, we got everything. We don't touch religion at all, so usually we don't have any kind of religion.
So it's more about being human. Okay, so now very quickly zooming out, it's a question of how you bridge the world as being Italian, living in Malaysia, because I think you mentioned at the beginning something interesting, that what you were very happy to see in Malaysia is that celebrating with the food, celebrating together, because that's a big Italian part of the culture, and it's obviously a big Malaysian culture too. Anything else that was very similar to Italian culture, the Malaysian culture, and very, very different?
Bahasa itself is interesting because there are some words that recalls a bit the sounds of Italian sounds to me. So the Bahasa itself, you know how they spell things, you know, it's I always found some similarities, and something totally different. Probably the attitude. At times, Italian tends to complain constantly. You know, I think Malaysia, as far as I know, a little bit less. Italian, in general, they tend to complain a bit constantly. So here, they complain a bit less, which is good.
So you are incredibly connected. You know locals, you know foreigners here, and your personality just makes people feel very inclusive around you. Do you think Malaysia is a very inclusive culture? Or is it difficult for expats to get into the Malaysian circle?
Absolutely, yes. I believe that Malaysians are very welcoming. And from my experience, I would say 95% of the expats I've been dealing with, they love it. Very few, they struggle at the beginning to get along. But I believe it's not because of Malaysians, it's because maybe of them, they are carrying one of the main traits I've seen in expats, that they come to a different country thinking to find what they left without, you know, being open. So I think it's not much from the Malaysian welcoming part, it's more from the expat coming here and assuming that things that should work in a certain way. Malaysians themselves are very, very welcoming. I would say that I've seen on other YouTubers some comments from, you know, locals about rejecting, let's say, expat, but that's, I think, is quite normal. You know, it doesn't happen only in Malaysia, but everywhere. But I would say, generally speaking, yes, Malaysians are absolutely welcoming.
All right, Maurizio, this has been an incredible conversation, and you making such an impact on the men's community in Malaysia, and 600 of men being able to strip down everything they knew about themselves and open up. That sounds like really a lot, knowing how men across the globe operate on a daily basis. So enormous work, and I wish you all the success. Last question to you. Do you have anything to share with Malaysian expats, women, men that are here in this beautiful country? Any message that you would like to share?
I would like to share with you a quote that for me really changed my life in terms of approach to life, is start doing what is necessary, then what is possible, and suddenly you will find yourself doing the impossible. you have to start to do what is necessary. So to understand what is not working in your life. And that's necessary to go to the next level. Then, when you start to address what is holding you back, you do whatever you can, what is possible. And suddenly you will experience, they call it miracles, or something that you say, wow, I'm an introvert. I never thought I could talk in front of 1,000 people. And that gives you self-confidence. Once you are self-confident without feeding your ego or thinking that you are better than others, but just you know that, okay, this is me, that's what I can offer to the world. As we said at the beginning, that discomfort of getting out of your comfort zone become much easier. Because once we are unsure about ourselves, everything becomes painful, everything becomes difficult. But once you prove yourself that you are able to get out of your comfort zone, then you can express your gift. And you have it, I have it, all of us, we have gift.
And if anyone would like to reach out to you, learn more about your men's circle, or maybe just connect with you, can they do that? How they can find you?
Thank you very much. I will really appreciate if you reach out to me. The best and fast way is on IG, my.master.man, my.master.man. And you can reach out to me if you want to join the men's circle. I'll be more than happy to share more information. If you are a woman and you are dealing with a man that you think he should join the men's circle, just please reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to welcome every man that comes with the goodwill to do the work. Absolutely.
Thank you so much,
Thanks for the
Maurizio.
opportunity.
It's been really incredible talking to you. Good luck in your Malaysian journey.
Thank you.
And I'm so happy to see you very happy here.